everyone. It is now 11:01 a.m. Calling the roll for the Monday, November 18th Board of Control meeting. We have Nan Baker, Dale Miller, Trevor Mackler serving as an alternate for Dan Brady, Dave Marquardt serving as an alternate for Mike Dever,
Here.
Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Armin Budish,
Here.
Lenora Lockett,
Here.
Lisa Rocco serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Very good. Okay, at this time, can we take a look at the minutes? Give you a minute to, if there's any questions on them. Okay, hearing no questions, I move to approve the minutes from November 12th Board of Control. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trevor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, can we move on to public comment?
No public comment at this time.
And then contracts and awards.
We have a tabled item number BC 2019-826, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, recommending an award on requisition 45810 and enter into a contract with Community of Hope in the amount not to exceed $150,000 for trauma-informed team mentoring services for transition-age young adults who are aging out of foster care, out of the foster care system, in Cuyahoga County, and it's for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020.
Chris Alexander, Department of Health and Human Services. On behalf of Children and Family Services, we presented this item last week, and I just wanted to quickly recap. We're seeking to enter into a contract with Community of Hope. These services were competitively procured this year. Community of Hope is seeking to serve approximately 15 new youth in 2020. Those youth are ages 18 to 24 who have been in foster care and or have aged out of foster care. They will also continue to support 45 existing tables that they have operated. There were some questions from last week. Hopefully they were satisfactorily answered. This was previously funded 100% under levy funds. This year, 30% will be funded under the Title 40 administrative dollars, as this is an allowable child welfare activity. 96% of the youth served to date, 51 of the 53 total youth have aged out of the foster care system. I know that was a question that came up. And as well, we did forward Community of Hope performance outcomes that covered the period of July 1, 2018 through September 1, 2019. The program met or exceeded performance benchmarks in almost every single category for the 5 consecutive quarters. I don't know if there are any additional questions.
Okay, do we have any questions? Trevor, please.
Good morning, Chris. Are there renewal terms in the contract, or is this just for 1 year?
Contract potential renewal terms for 2 additional 1-year periods.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Baker.
Just want to thank you for the follow-up answers, and it was informative. I appreciate it.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, I move to second. Okay, I have a second by Trevor. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item's passed. Thank you. Next item.
Moving on to new items, item number BC 2019-841, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment, subsidiary number 2, to a contract with DeGoya Suburban Excavating LLC for reconstruction and widening of Royalton Road from West 130th Street to York Road in the city of North Royalton for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $331,507.49.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Tom Sotak, representing Public Works this morning. This amendment was, as stated, for the Royalton Road project, contracted DeGoya Suburban. The amended agreement was for $331,000, $331,507. The amendment primarily consists of extra work associated with underground utility conflicts, unforeseen conditions, miscellaneous plan changes, etc. Most of the items were small in nature, and actually it should be pointed out, other than the water main, this represents about 2% of the original contract value of this project. And actually we expect this project to be completed this year, which is about a year early. So we expect some cost savings from that as well. So any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions for Tom? Councilwoman Baker?
Okay, so the difference between the engineer's estimate and the revised contract was about 1.6 million,
Yes, that's correct.
and we're asking for 331,000. And it was noted that the city of North Royalton will be responsible for the 751,000. So there's still a difference of 549,000. Who pays for that?
The engineer's estimate, actually, the revised contract amount is a contract amount, but the engineer's estimate does not reflect the original contract price, the bid price, actually. So this is a difference in the bid price, not actually the engineer's estimate.
What is the bid price? Is it just the two numbers, the 751 and the 3 that you're asking for?
The
31, is that?
The bid price is actually not on here. I can get that for you. The actual bid price, that's something that probably should be on this, actually this form.
Right.
And I can tell you this was going, the 751,000, that was for a water main. That was to upsize the water main from 12 to 16 inches. That was at the request of the city of
And they are
North
paying
Royalton.
100% for that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
They're asking for another 300. I'm just
Yes.
asking, is there any, according to this, there would be a difference of 500,000. If that's not, the engineer's estimate is not the actual contract price, I would just be curious to know if we've met the contract price, or is there another amount of money that's still out there?
This increase, the total request, the increase is above the original bid price, which is obviously is always different than the engineer's estimate. So the engineer's estimate's ahead of time.
And that was
again,
high.
Actually, the engineer's estimate, I think in this case, the engineer's estimate was, our bids came in very competitive, but I think they were, I believe they were a little bit higher, actually, than the engineer's estimate in this one. I can get you that number. I don't have it right now.
Okay.
I'm
Well, if it
sorry.
just- yeah, it would just make the numbers work. Right now, they don't appear to work. So if we could know exactly what the difference is between what the contract was and what the revised contract is, and then who is paying 100%, which it sounds like North Royalton is for the piping, and then we're being asked to allow for 300,000, there's a difference in money there I would just like to account for.
But I'll get you that information, and that should be there.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any further questions on the item? If none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by, I'm not sure, Lisa?
Ask,
Yeah,
before we
please.
vote, can we have this, I'm a little uncomfortable, can we have this pending, that we are not asking for more than what's asked in this proposal, that it's not going to be more than 300,000, and that the city of North Royalton is either going to pay more than 700 or the difference of what it takes to get it done?
Let me ask, Tom, can this hold a week? Is there anything pressing with this? And does this
Not
want to come
really.
back next
No.
next Monday and have all these answers? Well, is that good? All right, let's hold this item till next week and get all these questions answered, okay? Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2019-842, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment subsidiary number 1 to a contract with Fabrizi Recycling, Inc. for reconstruction and widening of Sprague Road from Webster Road to West 130th Street in the cities of Middleburg Heights, North Royalton, Parma, and Strongsville for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $83,598.27.
This amended agreement primarily deals with two items: additional upsizing the water main within the city of Parma. That's a small portion of this project, similar to the last project, Royalton Road. And then some additional tree removals that were made necessary due to a storm sewer installation. That's pretty much the extent of this amended agreement.
And Tom, I do believe there's a question about trees on this one. Will they be replaced?
Actually, it's in the city of Middleburg Heights. There's about 20 trees on the north side of the road and a tree lawn there that had to be removed. It was the designers made every positive intent to try to keep the trees, but at the end of the day, it was just too close to the storm sewer. So there'll be some arrangements made with the city of Middleburg Heights to replace those trees near the completion of the project.
Okay, Councilwoman Baker.
Are they in agreement with that? Has that been worked out and they know that their responsibility is to put those trees back?
Yes, we had a talk with the city of North Middleburg Heights, and there will be trees replaced as a part of the project.
Thank you.
Any further questions? If none, I move for a second. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item's approved. Thank you. Next item.
BC 2019-843, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Terrace Construction Company, Inc. for improvements to future Amazon site perimeter roads, including Warrensville Center Road, Emory Road, and Northville Road in the village of North Randall, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $39,448.92, recommending to accept construction as complete and in accordance with plans and specifications, also requesting authority for the county treasurer to release the escrow account in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, section 153.63.
This is a final amended agreement for the Amazon project that was in the village of North Randall, and it's pretty much final measured quantities, some plan omission, and a change of the pavement marking plan to use a more appropriate material for that. This cost will be paid at 100% village cost.
Okay, are there any questions for Tom on this item? If none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Trevor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The item's approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2019-844, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Katz Construction, Inc. for resurfacing of Warrensville Center Road from Broadway Avenue to Maple Heights, North Corporation Line, in the cities of Bedford and Maple Heights, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $29,036.82.
Agreement deals primarily with some incidental pavement work that we did on the road. The grinding was changed a little bit. We worked on a pressure relief joint, but pretty much some miscellaneous items that we added to the roadway as appropriate.
Okay, are there any questions for Tom? Okay, if none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Next item. Thank
The next item, BC 2019-845, has been held at the request of the department. Moving on, number BC 2019-846, Department of Human Resources, submitting an amendment to a contract with Quick Employment LLC for sourcing and staffing of temporary employees for the period August 8th, 2017 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2020, to change the terms to increase the hourly rate for payroll officer effective January 1st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $57,865.60.
Good morning, Pat Smock on behalf of the Department of Human Resources. This request is to amend a contract that was passed based on an RFP in 2017. We're hoping to extend it for an additional year and increase the rate for payroll officers. We don't necessarily anticipate needing the entire year, but we built that in to be prudent. We do have a posting up for payroll officers through the PRC. It's a difficult fit to find payroll officers here. During pay weeks, they arrive between 5 and 6 a.m. Our payroll officers have worked every Monday holiday this year. We're working the Sunday before Christmas. We work either Saturday or Sunday. So we're trying to build some time in with experienced temporary staff that we have to continue the payroll operation while we go through the PRC process. And for that reason, we appreciate your consideration.
Thanks, Pat. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
The next is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-847, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 46801, which will result in an award recommendation to Mental Health Services for Homeless Persons, Inc., doing business as Frontline Service, in the amount not to exceed $15,000 for evidence-based trauma-informed treatment services for child victims and witnesses to violence in connection with the Defending Childhood Initiative project. And it's for the period October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. And this contract with mental health is for trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy for children of victims and witnesses of violence. The reason we're asking for the exemption is that this partner was specifically named in our grant application, and the state has given the authorization to make an award, subrecipient award directly to this vendor. It is late because, as with most grants, we did not receive the notice of award until after the performance period had already started, and so we couldn't start the contracting process until we received the award. And I have with me Jill Smilek in case there's any questions about this contract or our VOCA award in general.
Are there any questions for Mary Beth? Councilwoman Baker.
Is there a reason, or did they give you a reason why a targeted cut was made specifically for this?
Good morning, I'm Jill Smilek from Witness Victim Service Center and Department of Public Safety. No, they didn't. So VOCA is a federal fund that comes to the state and is passed through to local communities. They did announce roughly 2 or 3 days before awards came out that most agencies would be taking about a 7 to 8% cut. Some programs were cut 100%, others were cut more than 7 or 8%, and there was not any justification or reason for how cuts were made, unfortunately. So I don't have insight into that decision-making process.
Sure.
As a follow-up, the request is $15,000. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Seems like a very targeted, low amount
so
to be withdrawn.
There are additional contracts that will be coming to you for approval in the coming weeks for additional services related to the Defending Childhood System. So we have approximately $45,000 set aside for treatment services in general for this contract year, and that's divided among 3 different agencies. So the reason why we divide among 3 different agencies is because we target specific therapeutic models, and not every agency has an expertise in that particular therapeutic model. And so we want to make sure that there are funds available in various treatment models for children who may do better in one modality than another one.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you'll be back for more funding for other specific targeted services?
For the contracts, yes. The funding is all contained within the VOCA award.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Are there any further questions? Trevor?
Jill, thanks for your answers, or Mary Beth, thanks for your answers to the advanced questions. Am I reading this correctly that it looks like the department took about a $60,000 or so, $65,000 cut in VOCA funding in total from what we were the previous fiscal year?
That's correct. We actually, from the previous fiscal year, we actually requested a little bit of a lower amount anyway, just based on the spending patterns from the previous year's grant. And then we took a cut from the lower amount that we requested. So our total amount that we requested was $614,000, $614,331, and we received $556,614. So that's about a 9% cut that we took.
Do you know what area we will be reducing our expenditures, or what the plan is to make up for that difference?
Our request was for 4 different program areas. The first thing that we requested was for some victim advocates who specifically work on felony crimes, and we were fully funded for that portion of our request. We also requested funding for Camp Hope, which is a 1-week residential camp that we started last year. We requested $25,200 for that, and we were fully funded for that. We took cuts in our Defending Childhood System, so our central intake and assessment component of the program, and then our treatment. So Defending Childhood is a program where every child who has an intake through the Division of Children and Family Services, and also juvenile court probation, as well as some community health agencies, they're screened for trauma symptoms as related to their exposure to violence. If it's deemed that they are in need of additional help, then they come into the Defending Childhood System. So we are taking a hit in our Defending Childhood System at this point.
Is that staffing, or what expenses come out of that 282 or 71 there?
Those services are contracted out. And they are, those funds go towards personnel who provide therapeutic intervention.
Do you know if the vendor will have to potentially lay off an FTE or anything because of these cuts, or what the results of these cuts will be?
That's very likely, unfortunately. We just began a meeting process with our contracted agency for central intake and assessment, as well as some additional partners like Division of Children and Family Services, Invest in Children for their early childhood mental health programs. So some other folks to kind of see where we can pull resources and try to make up that difference.
And who's the vendor for that?
Central intake and assessment is also done by mental health services, which goes by frontline services at this point. And then our treatment services are MHS or Frontline, Belfair, and Applewood.
Thanks, Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, I move for approve. Do I have a second? Trevor McAleer, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
Item number BC 2019-848, Department of Health and Human Services, submitting a cooperative grant agreement with Ohio Department of Health in the amount not to exceed $172,944 for the provision of fiscal agent services for public health activities associated with the Tuberculosis Control Program, and is for the period July 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019.
Hi, my name is Chantel McCurdy with the Department of Health and Human Services. This agreement is with the Ohio Department of Health. Per the ORC, all counties receive funds to offset the costs associated with administering the TB control and prevention program. We are really just the fiscal agent for the program. Metro Health Hospital is the service provider.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Councilman Miller.
I would like to move to amend this item so that it reads consistent with the response to the question that was asked, so that it reads, for the provision of fiscal agent and control and prevention services. I don't want the record to suggest that we paid $172,944 just for fiscal agent services.
Right. All the total funds is used for the program, not for us to be the fiscal agent. We just really pass the money through to pay Metro to offset their expenses.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, or Councilman Baker?
So am I correct in reading that this begins 7/1/19 and ends 12/31/19?
Yes, that's the grant period. And we usually receive this agreement in September of every year from the state, and we go through the process of getting it signed, and we have to have it back to them by the 30th, September 30th, and then we go through the process of getting it approved through, the executive and the board of control, but we receive it every year at that time. And usually we, in the past, we were a little later with bringing it in front of you because we don't receive the invoices from Metro until after the year closes, but I tried to do it beforehand, before the year ends this time, and we'll still receive the invoice in January, and that's when we'll receive the funds, and then to be able to pay Metro. I just wanted you all to be able to approve the item before the period ends.
So the services don't end at 12/31/19?
Well, yes, because the services that Metro will bill for will be through 12/31/19.
And a month and a half is enough time?
Well, Metro does the program anyways, and the state just allows I don't know how they determine the amount because it's different every year, but the state sends us the agreement of the amount that Cuyahoga County is awarded to offset, usually every year in September. And then we get the agreement signed by our executive and Metro to let them know how much the state has approved to reimburse them.
But the services for this control program for tuberculosis goes on beyond 2019?
It's usually, the grant is usually awarded annually. We just don't know how much the state is going to allow for Cuyahoga County to be reimbursed to provide to Metro. But the services, it seems to be continuously. We just get the agreement late every year.
Thank you.
For clarification, it's a continuous program.
Yes.
That we're just waiting to see how much money.
Yeah,
we get.
it's a continuous program in Metro. We just wait to see how much the Department of Health is going to allow Calaveras County to be reimbursed for.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I would like to move this item as amended. Do I have a second? Seconded by Trevor McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
This item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2019-849, Department of Health and Human Services. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 47182, which will result in an agreement with the Metro Health System in the amount not to exceed $172,944 for a reimbursement of services rendered for public health activities associated with the tuberculosis control program, and is for the period July 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. And B, submitting the agreement in connection with said RFP exemption.
This is the same agreement that we just discussed. It's just the separate, it's put on there because of the exemption, I think, right? Is that correct? That it's on there twice because of?
Because it's an exemption and also because it's a different provider.
Okay, but this is the same grant that we just discussed.
Okay, I'll open up to questions. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I move is there a second? Seconded by Trevor McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2019-850, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Reentry, submitting an amendment to a contract with the Effective Leadership Academy for leadership and life skills training and services, and is for the period December 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $23,000.
Good morning, Fred Bolleton with the Office of Reentry. This is an amendment to continue for 1 year funding for the program, which provides mentorship and leadership training for youths who have been involved in the juvenile justice system and are considered at risk for juvenile and or adult recidivism. As with many of our programs, we do not have the budget to ramp up, but what we try to do is come up with ideas for effective programming, pilot them, and if successful, hope that the providers, the vendors, will be able to find other funding sources. So this is an amendment for a lower amount. Last year, I believe it was $35,000. This will be anticipated as the last year of funding for $23,000, and that they should be able to be self or otherwise funded.
Do we have any questions for Fred? Councilwoman Baker?
So the question was asked, what was the original cost of the 3-year contract? And that number was given as $37,000.
It was originally, I believe, a 2-year contract, and then it was amended last year. Originally, it was $37,000. It had been moved down to $35,000 last year, and now $23,000 as we're trying to phase out, not the program, but phase out our funding of the program.
Okay, so at least according to the paperwork, it's all of 16, all of 17, I'm sorry, all of 17, all of 18, and all of 19. And then now we're asking for an additional year, so that would make 4 years, 3 years of the contract, and we're asking for an additional year for 2020. And when I asked the question, what was the original cost of the 3-year contract from 17, 18, and 19, the number was $37,000. But we're asking 23 for 1 year. That was why I question it.
The original contract was, I believe, for 2 years starting in the end of 16 for $37,000 per year. That took us to the end of 18, where it was amended and another $35,000 provided, taking us up to now, and this will be for 1 further year of funding at the reduced amount.
May I make a correction, please? Amendment number 1 was in the amount of $70,000. So the original contract was $37,000, and when you came back to amend it, it was in the amount of $70,000. And this is amendment number 2 for $23,000.
So it was, okay. Then I stand correct. So it was originally a 1-year contract and then amended for 2 years at the lower amount of 35,000. Okay, I apologize.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mackler?
Fred, how many youth do we serve with this contract?
How many are served? It's a minimum of 50, but they have been serving more than that.
Is there a maximum?
No, there's not a maximum because I say we're not the only ones providing funding. They take every 3 months they begin a new cohort and provide 10. I believe it's 10 or 12. I'm not sure. I can get back to you on that of this training program and ongoing mentorship. The mentorship continues beyond the leadership training program. And so they take up to whatever capacity they can have. I believe they take a maximum of 20 per cohort in any one group. But they may have, depending on other funding they may have more than one group, leadership group in each cohort.
And are there evaluations on the program? Are there evaluations on the program of how successful it is?
There are evaluations that are done. The recidivism rate, I don't have the exact number, but it's been much lower than for people who have not been in the program. We can't say that it's exclusively because of the program, because there's not a required program, so the people who do volunteer and sign up for the program may be more motivated to turn their lives around, and that's why that could add to why there's a lower recidivism rate. So I'm not going to sit here and claim that this is the only thing. It's that part is difficult to measure because we can't have strict control groups because we don't deny people, except perhaps making them wait till the next cohort starts.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Baker. Oh, did you approve that item? I couldn't tell. There was 3 people on there at the same time. Did you second that? Okay, Lisa, second it, please. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Thank you. Next item.
851, Court of Common Pleas, Corrections Planning Board, submitting an amendment to a contract with Psych and Psych Services for assessment and intensive treatment services in connection with the Cuyahoga County Adult Probation Department Sex Offender Program, and is for the period July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2019, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2021, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $93,900.
Hi, this is Linda Lagoonzad, Assistant Administrator for the Corrections Planning Board. This is a second contract amendment for sex offender treatment services involving the Common Pleas Court's Adult Probation Department. The vendor Psych and Psych Services has been providing sex offender treatment services since 1985, and its services for these adult sex offenders under this contract will include an initial assessment, which is conducted up front to determine the unique needs of each offender. It's a face-to-face interview. It includes the development of an offender relapse prevention treatment plan to reduce sexual re-victimization. It includes group therapy treatment, weekly and in weekly sessions, group sessions, and also individualized treatment sessions, and they can go up to 12 months. Progress is measured by pre- and post-testing using specific measurement scales such as validity, accountability, and sexual deviance scales. Collaboration regarding the progress of these offenders obviously is communicated with the Adult Probation Department since the offenders are required to participate in the services as part of their community control supervision as required by the court. The bottom line is that it's hoped that these offenders' life skills are improved and that their ability to appropriately function in the community has increased.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the item? Trevor?
Just wanted to confirm there are no general fund, right? It's just the
That is-
CCA 407.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further questions, I move to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2019-852, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, recommending an award on requisition 46069 and enter into a master contract with various providers in the total amount not to exceed $24,960 for limited scope legal services to families using the Juvenile Court Resource Center to initiate or modify custody and child support claims, and is for the period November 1st, 2019 through April 30th, 2020 for the following providers: Nancy Fiorito, Judith Kowalski, and Helen Reinard.
Good morning, Sarah Baker, Juvenile Court. The court received a grant through the Ohio Supreme Court to provide limited scope legal services. So these attorneys will be working out of our resource center during the week. They can assist families with the completion of forms. They can help them with any filings that they need to do or any motions. We did complete an informal RFQ for this process, and 4 vendors submitted. However, one of them took a full-time job and was unable to participate with this grant.
Okay, are there any questions? Hearing none,
for the record, I'm just going to recuse myself from this vote for personal reasons.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Trevor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we have one reclusion. Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda items, item numbers BC 2019-853 through 857. Also, there was one question that was posed for item number BC 2019-855, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. It was a grant application to Ohio Emergency Management, and the question was asked, why is this request over 60 days late? The department did send a response, but I did not see that response, so.
Hi, Mary Beth from Public Safety. This is a reoccurring issue with Ohio EMA. We did not receive the notice of the grant application until October 4th, which was after the period started, and that's customary with this grant.
It seems like all our grants are like that. That's just the normal course of business?
And particularly because a lot of these are coming from the federal government, so they have to wait to find out what they're getting from the feds. Then they determine the distribution, and then they can take and tell us.
Do you think it would help if we put some sort of notice in the item? Because it seems like it happens a lot. I don't know. We'll think about it, I guess. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions on any of the items, consent agenda? Hearing none, I'm asking for a second. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the items are all approved. Are there any other business?
Mission critical item. It's the Office of the Medical Examiner recommending an award on requisition 47404 to Advantage Inc. in the amount not to exceed $4,251 for the purchase of a new sideboard in connection with the repair of one Agilent gas chromatic mass spectrometer instrument. And it's for the period October 28th, 2019 through December 16th, 2019. And the funding source is the Crime Lab Fund.
Examiner's Office. So we had actually brought this forth last month, and there were a range of possibilities of what may or may not need to be fixed. We had approved it for one amount. When they came back, they found an additional repair that needed to be made, so we need to change the amount.
Okay, first I'd like to look for approval to amend today's agenda. Include this. Seconded by Councilman Miller. Are there any questions on this item? Okay, hearing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Oh, call there. Let's vote on amending the agenda. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the item is agended. Now, is there any questions? No. Okay, I move to approve the item. Is there a second? Second again by Mr. Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item's approved. Okay,
Thank you.
Any other business?
No other business at this time and no public comment.
Okay, then if that's the case, I move to adjourn. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item's approved. Thank you.